We are beautifully, melanated.
Hello and welcome to Beautifully Melanated Podcast. I'm your host, Karen, and I'm joined with my wonderful co-hosts.
Hi, I'm Kay, and thank you for having us again this week. Very excited to be here.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and yeah, we're very excited to be back again. So this evening, I'm going to kick off with my What in the World. And this is from a news piece that I saw that I found was incredibly strange and actually quite disturbing about the way we treat our elderly. So this piece, it's in quite a few papers. It's in the Telegraph as well, but it's about an 82-year-old woman. She's in America, and she's in New York, and she was in a nursing home, and she was found to be breathing 3 hours after she had supposedly been told that she was dead, and she was actually put in a body bag. So it says the woman was pronounced dead at Water's Edge Rehab. I can name it. It's in the press. Nursing home at 11:15. The woman whose name was not released was taken to a funeral home at 1:30 p.m. And by 2:09, she was said to be breathing. So the woman was taken to hospital and no update on her condition was available. So I found this quite strange because later on in the article, it says that this is not the first time that this woman has, a person in that particular nursing home has been thought to be dead when they actually weren't dead. And the fact that this woman was actually put into a body bag, and checked over and presumed dead, was actually really disturbing. The woman also had Alzheimer's, and she was also suffering with depression shortly before she was assumed dead. So I thought that would be absolutely terrible that she'd be then put into this body bag, sent off to this funeral home where she was found to be very much alive. Doesn't say much more than that. I can't imagine what her mental state would be like after that. I mean, personally, I think it's my absolute worst nightmare. I think most people would be their nightmare to find out that they're actually alive and they're waking up in a funeral home. You know, you see these kind of James Bond movies where a person is kind of bashing on the coffin back in the day. And it's most people's worst nightmare. And it also makes me think about, you know, the way we treat our elderly, the kind of way we treat people that actually have passed away. And I feel it's a bit like we're kind of, you know, as a society, especially in this country, as well as the United States. It's different in other countries where, you know, the life of the person is actually celebrated. But I think a lot of people feel our elderly, when they've lived their lives, instead of having respect for them, they're kind of almost thrown away, I feel. And I think this might have happened to this lady. So I wanted to get my co-host's thoughts on this. It's only a small piece of news. I mean, obviously not to her family. It'll be a huge piece of news, but I just found it quite disgusting how I feel that certain people feel like they're kind of throwing away a person when they're dead, a bit like a piece of trash. And if this particular home this will be the second time this has happened, then, you know, what's that saying? I mean, I'm hoping this home would now be closed and it will be looked into. I mean, even the staff, 2 members of staff were actually found out to not have the correct training for end-of-life care, etc. So I want to turn it to my co-hosts and ask what their thoughts were on this. What do you think, guys?
I am actually shocked that could even happen. Like, how horrifying would that have been?
Exactly.
So I think I need a little bit more information about the care home, you know, how this was able to happen. So presumably then, when somebody passes in a care home, a doctor is called in or somebody to kind of verify time of death, that sort of thing.
You would think so.
You'd think so,
wouldn't you?
Yeah, to pronounce the death.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So had that gone wrong, the mind boggles. I don't know how.
I think, and I will get the other article up, this article I'm reading from right now on App News is quite short, but I think that the people that were meant to check her, I feel like it wasn't what you said it was, Karen, like calling in a doctor, etc. I feel like it was somebody else that checked her rather than
a medical
medical doctor. Yes. I think, and I will look again, there's something to do with certain members of the funeral home were supposedly trained in this kind of thing. But they got it wrong. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's shocking.
That is quite shocking. And you know what? If I was at the other end, receiving a body, and then it starts breathing.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
Exactly.
Can you imagine?
I'd be gone.
Yeah.
Me friend I'd not be. I bet, what do you mean the corpses come alive? I am out of there.
So what happened to the woman then?
She was later taken to hospital where she passed away.
Okay, so she, okay. I guess then maybe she had no pulse at the time, or maybe, I guess she was showing signs of death, right?
Yes, they said they couldn't find a pulse, but actually then they could find a pulse. So I'm not quite sure how that
I'm
works.
not medical. I wouldn't be wanting to pronounce anyone dead. I would need a doctor to say, you could teach me what to look for, but I'm not sure I'd be confident as a staff in a care home
absolutely, to pronounce
someone dead.
Yeah. Yeah. Imagine if she'd got to sort of, so had she been removed from the care home?
She'd been removed from the care home and taken to the funeral home, yes.
Wow.
Then was taken back to a hospital, or taken to a hospital, where she might have died a few days later.
But could you imagine waking up,
Oh,
in a funeral home? Wow.
she was discovered at a funeral home with her eyes. She was breathing, and then her eyes were open.
Wow.
Wow. So we have some live feedback here from Anna. Anna says, personally, as this happened with that home before, I'd say they're in on some kind of organ harvesting.
Ah,
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Not a bad shout. Anna.
Possibility.
yes, yeah.
That is crazy.
That is
and
crazy.
it has happened before.
It's happened before. This is the second time it happened in that home.
And do you know what the time frame between?
I'm not sure what the time frame is.
Okay.
No.
Because that's quite scary, isn't it?
Yep. It is quite scary, definitely.
And suppose it was that they had started to embalm already. Because I know
Yeah.
in Jamaica,
wow.
we
I was
start
thinking that.
embalming
That's what I was
process
thinking.
real quick.
Yeah.
Because we need our coffins to be open. Imagine.
Absolutely.
No, sir. Is the home being shut down?
I'm just going to have a look now, because if that doesn't shut it down, then, I mean...
I don't know what would.
It's in Long Island. Yeah.
Right. If I was a relative, I want compensation.
That's just so scary. To get that wrong is... That's just so scary, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, really, really scary. Really scary. The home's been fined £10,000, which is not really anything, is it?
Not at all.
They also had a similar case happen to them as well. Really, really worrying.
Any compensation for the family?
Doesn't say so. The woman was placed in a body bag and then taken to the funeral home. They unzipped the body bag to find a woman alive and gasping for air.
Oh my
God.
goodness.
She was called to 911. They called 911, and then she was taken into a hospital where she later died.
Wow. Did you say this was it's an elderly woman?
Yes, 83-year-old woman.
Okay.
Yeah. Terrible, isn't it?
That is shocking.
Really horrible.
And her ordeal was harrowing. I mean,
Yeah.
that's scary, isn't it?
She's woken up in a body bag thinking,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, that is scary.
No,
that is
man,
scary.
that is wrong. And if it's organ harvesting, they're going to be found out. I am hearing there's a little bit of disturbance on my mic, ladies. So I apologize to the listeners. I'm going to try and fix it. And thank you, Anna, for locking in for another week with us. Great to have you.
Definitely. Thank you very much. Yeah, I just think it's I'll go back to, ladies, what I said before about people and the way they're treated. And I feel like when it comes to us all getting very, very old, we're getting out, in this day and age we live in, to get old is a privilege, isn't it? Really. So just to be thrown away, I feel, just to be, next, I feel like that's what the home must have got to. There's not much more saying about the home here. I'm just looking at the Guardian. There's not much said more about the home, apart from this is the second time that it's happened.
I think you're right, though, because I think other cultures celebrate their elders, don't they? And
That's right, they do.
Elders are treated with so much respect and, dignity, and like I say, they're really celebrated. And I just think that in this country, less so. People tend not to keep elderly relatives at home with them. I mean, obviously, sometimes you can't. I'm not, saying that people are willy-nilly just sending their loved ones into homes. I'm not saying that at all. But I mean, where other cultures make it a point of duty to care for their elderly,
Yes, that's
I think,
right.
we tend not to so much in this country, which is why we are, struggling to house our elderly. We're struggling to look after them. The healthcare service is stretched to breaking point. They don't have carers. And I think it's just different in other parts of the world. Yeah.
It's very different. And I just feel that, she wasn't even thought about. I mean, she was already depressed. I don't know. It's horrible, isn't it? You're right. When I speak to friends who have relatives in other countries and they're, even people in this country, relatives past who take the body back to other countries, they're celebrated. Their life is celebrated. Sure, they're mourned, but they're also celebrated.
Very much.
We don't have that here. And I think it's quite a shame, really. But I can't, when I look at, say, the way that, say, my African friends would celebrate life for someone passing when the body gets shipped back to someone like Nigeria, Ghana, etc. I can't imagine how we would do that here as a society. I mean, don't know what you think, ladies. I can't imagine. If you think of a typical African funeral that's held out in Africa, can you imagine that happening here with English people?
No,
because not
for a start, the funeral directors here give you a time.
Yeah, it's true.
Whereas in Jamaica, they know it's a whole day thing. So my brother's funeral started at 11 a.m. It was 4 hours long. Nobody not going anywhere till he is in the
That's right.
And sealed over.
Whereas here,
for how long as it takes. Here they give you half an hour slots at the crowd.
My auntie got that, half an hour. And then you'll get some dry-ass cucumber sandwich or something and a cup of tea. And you're lucky you get a digestive biscuit, the same stuff they give you in those churches.
Yeah.
So there's,
And then of course the rituals that are associated with the passing of our loved ones. We don't have that here. So I'm thinking, is her spirit really at peace now that you've killed a woman twice? Supposing now she's walking about the place, don't know where to go. Because
very true.
I have to say that when, I've been to funerals of family members or friends, we've tried to keep that tradition and we've tried to keep our culture. So I've not been to a cremation.
Oh, have you not?
No,
Never.
I have. It's
I've never.
quite grim.
Yeah.
Really?
It's very, very.
Is it quite clinical?
Very.
Yes.
I would have thought so.
Very.
So I've been to, church services and then we've had a burial and, there are traditional songs that I think every Jamaican.
Of course, when you backfill the grave especially.
Yes.
And there's a rum, you pour the libation.
Yes, all that. They're rituals.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm used to.
Yeah.
I haven't been to many funerals, thankfully.
And
but
of course the screaming and crying because I need that.
A lot of that. That
doesn't really happen so much, does it, in British kind of...
I've never heard it.
I've not been to one, to be fair.
Haven't you? I have.
No,
I've been a few, but it's always been...
Is it quite different?
Yeah, very. I've been both to both. There's a massive difference.
Oh, really? Is it quite subdued then?
It's very clinical. It's the same as a wedding, isn't it? The same. If we're going to go down the road, it's the same as a certain type of wedding.
Okay,
is the same as a certain type of funeral. Put it that way. So very, very kind of. You may have under 50 people. You may have maybe 10 or 15. It's very clinical. It's almost like a registry office. I feel like you go in there.
And there was something about being invited as well. Whereas
that's right, invited.
Jamaica,
that's right.
You don't get invited.
No, same as Ghana. You don't get invited. You just go.
The whole community
goes.
Do you know when my uncle passed and we needed to hire a caterer, we had to pay for this caterer, but we couldn't give him a number. Because you can't say it's not like a wedding or a party we were invited. We were just just cook some food.
Yeah.
Because we didn't
when
know.
It runs out, it runs out.
When it runs out, so we just, and it's interesting you say that because there's no invitation. I mean, obviously you got a rough idea, but people can come and mourn the death of,
it's very different.
It's very different.
You can't. You have a set number of people coming to a normal kind of white British funeral. And I mean, I've been to a few because obviously my adoptive parents are white. So their whole family, and it's just very small. I find that's the difference. It's very small. And the hymns that are sung are so dull. Let's put it out there. Really dull and really dry. And it's that kind of, I don't know, ladies, wasn't brought up in a church, but it's that kind of, there's very uninspiring. People that are singing the hymns are singing them on these, those kind of musty old Bibles. You can smell them when they open the old book. Like, I don't know. Mothball kind of, yeah. And it's different if people are enjoying singing that, but they're not enjoying it. They're like, oh, like at school, like having to sing that stuff at school. No one wants to sing it and they have to sing it.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
It's very clear. It's very formal.
It's very formal.
Quick.
Yeah.
And the life is talked about. There's not much, everyone's different, not much emotion. It's like, this is who she was. This is what she liked to do.
But I think the British are very, traditionally,
closed.
They're very closed and it's very stiff upper lip, isn't it? I think they're taught that you don't show emotion. Necessarily. I mean, this is a huge generalisation. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that every household is like that, but I mean, traditionally, it's quite, everything's quite held.
Yes,
and we don't want to make a scene. We don't want to make a fuss. We don't sort of, there's no outpour. And I guess in the Caribbean, it's very different. People are openly bawling, wailing.
That's right. That's natural.
Throwing themselves down.
Yeah. And also, I think
imagine that here. That wouldn't. People are like, oh, look at them, and they get their phone out or something.
Yeah. They would call the psych doctor.
Yeah. It just can't imagine it here.
And I don't think that the caskets are open here. Well, I don't know.
No,
my dad's was.
I've never seen one
open.
in a white, but it's like a creme service. I've never seen an open.
No, it's always been
enough.
closed.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's just because our family wanted to have ours open.
Yes.
Right.
But I worked with a young person actually who went to another country to bury her grandmother, and the casket was open, and she has been really struggling with that. She found that really, really difficult.
Because the bodies apparently do change when they've been, is it embalmed or?
Embalmed,
do change.
yeah.
Yes.
My brother looked fabulous.
Did he?
He really
wow.
did. He looked gorgeous.
Oh, that's
Even
nice.
people are like, are they sure he's dead because he looked beautiful? And he had this little smile on his face.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think
Okay.
he must have seen my sister come to meet him or somebody, but he just looked so peaceful and so asleep and so handsome that do you know what? Twice now I've had funerals here for creme funerals, and I've asked, could I go and see the person in the nursing home? And they've said, no, the funeral director said the body isn't in a state to look at. And I'm like, what? So, Uno couldn't make no money in Jamaica. Like, none. Zero. What you mean the body is not in a state to be looked at? What have you done with it?
Yeah.
Maybe using different embalming techniques here as they would back there.
Maybe, but what do you mean it can't be looked at? Like,
unless you've been in a horrific accident, you can't be.
They died peacefully.
I think they're assuming that you won't want to see the body in
That's
that
up to
state.
you. That's up to you, isn't it? You make that decision, not them.
Yeah.
But I guess they're probably used to people who
Can't cope with it.
who wouldn't want to see that. So they're sort of making that
That's
assumption, aren't they?
true.
So lots of people in this
Yeah.
country probably wouldn't want to see that relative that's passed.
I imagine not.
People will find that very disturbing.
Quite disturbing,
Yeah,
quite hard
upsetting.
to see.
Yeah.
Quite
I've
upsetting.
heard a lot of, I want to remember them the way they
Yes.
were
Yeah,
in
lots of people say
life.
absolutely. Yeah.
Lots of people would do.
But if you're pronouncing someone dead, spiritually there's some things to be done, and you're moving them alive from a nursing home, put them in a body bag, only for them to not be dead and then die again.
I know.
No, sir. No, you worry the ancestors there, so I wouldn't have to do that.
They haunt your ass. They put you in a body bag. There's horror films where someone kills a spider and a spider comes back and kills you. It's like, it's a bit extreme, but yeah. So, that was about it really, ladies, for that What in the World. But I think it's always important to really always consider our elderly, and still stick with our traditions as well when it comes to people that are passing away. So, ladies, we wanted to jump into the feedback from our first show last week.
Yeah. We've had quite good feedback.
We
Some
have.
we've taken on board, we'll pick up on. Karen, would you like to lead us up, or do you want me to start?
Can you start, Kay?
Sure. So I've had feedback from Janice in Jamaica, and she says, it was a lovely show, really enjoyed it, but she was hoping for more. She was hoping to hear how certain life events can affect the way you choose your partner.
Right.
And how you function in that relationship. So more from a mental health therapy stuff perspective, how we set romantic relationships up. So I'm going to go into that a little bit later. And also from Tiana in London, she sent some feedback today and it was very lovely. She thought it was a brilliant episode. Here we go. She says, the relationship stuff you are saying is so true. Without loving yourself fully first, you will always put up with nonsense from men because you don't even value yourself. That was my issue, always. It's only in the past year I have really learned to love myself, and it has now allowed me to find someone who truly respects and loves me.
Oh,
which is beautiful.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
so true. It's so true. I think we all have to learn from that, whether we're, 18 or 80. We've got to love ourselves first. And I think it's also important that it's a work in progress. I don't think anyone, unless they're a Buddhist monk, loves themselves completely 100%. But if we can just even get to 75% to 80%, then that's amazing throughout life, and to be kind to ourselves and value ourselves. Because then, like Tiana says, if you know who you are and value yourself, then you meet somebody of value.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
You'll meet someone on the frequency you're vibrating at.
100%.
And if you think yourself to be low value and you deserve the crumbs off the table, that's the kind of man you're going to attract.
You'll get those crumbs.
Yeah, you'll get the crumbs and a little less.
That's right. Breadcrumbing, call it, don't they?
Yeah.
I like that one. Breadcrumbing.
Just the little tiny drops, little specks you get flicked off the table.
Right. So I had some feedback from Robin, who is a fellow DJ on Lightning Radio. And he sent me a YouTube video called Vibrations, interview with Shahrazad Ali. And it talked about the fact that Black women have disrespected their fellow Black men. That's not all of what she says, but that's kind of, the crux of it, to be fair. And so we had a conversation about this, really. And I wanted to pick his brains a little bit to find out, what he thought she meant. And our exchange was very, very interesting. So I wanted to throw that open to the listeners, if you have any views on that. So basically what this lady is saying is that Black women have not been respectful of Black men. We have, I guess she said, sort of belittled them. We've not uplifted them. And therefore it's left them to treat us not very nicely or fall into the arms of our European counterparts. And I just wanted to hear what you ladies thought about that. I'm just throwing this out there. This is just feedback that I received. And I just wanted to know what you thought about that. Have we been disrespectful to our fellow Black man?
Karen, that's such a generalization that I don't even know where to start. Okay, maybe some women are disrespectful to their men. Okay.
Some women in general, isn't it?
Or, but we're not all the same. We're not a monolith.
Absolutely.
So I can't run with that argument. That is too general, and that's coming from a place of probably not enlightenment. So no, I will not accept that all Black women are disrespectful of all Black men, and therefore they have to find comfort in the arms of a white woman or another race. Nonsense, nonsense, nonsense. I think Black women show up for Black men time and time again. We ride for them. Whether or not we're disrespectful is not an issue. If you want to be with someone else, just say so. But don't come and place it on our shoulders that we are the reason you have chosen to date outside your race. No, you chose that. Because I'm not disrespectful, generally speaking. If I feel like I have disrespected you, I would apologize. But is said Black man also not disrespectful? And that's a real childish perspective. You've upset me, therefore I'm going off to someone else and it's your fault. Oh dear. No. if you've just tuned in, you're listening to beautifully melanated podcast on Lightning Radio 90.8 FM and lightningradio.net. If you would love to comment on this, and I think it could get heated in here, please head over to our Instagram page, Beautifully Melanated Podcast, and send us your messages. We would love to hear your take on this idea that because Black women are disrespectful, and don't uplift our men. I mean, they're already on our head top. I don't know how much farther they want to go. Then let us hear from you. Sarah.
I just don't understand this. I mean, maybe for me it's quite different because I grew up in a white family as an adopted person, and I grew up in a white area. So I guess my experience of this would be very different. I just think some women in general disrespect men. That's just what they're like. They are them, whether they're black, white, green, whatever. They're just disrespectful. All I see in the black women that I know is women that have uplifted their men. I don't see all this trashing men and stuff. I've seen it when I was younger, but that wasn't just black girls when I was young. That was just girls. Ignorant, stupid, whatless girls. Be real. It was, oh, I don't need this. I don't need that. This, that, the other. You can just, do this, do that. That was just certain type of girl. So I've just seen nothing but black women loving black men, uplifting them, supporting them. And like Kay said, if someone wants to choose to have a relationship with somebody of another race, that's because they've chosen that. I hardly think it's because they've been so hard done by black men. Really, come on.
Exactly. And if you're a black man, that means your mother is a black woman. So perhaps that's where the issue lies. And you can't relate to black women because you're repeating a pattern.
So,
go on.
So Robin says, I can't say
sociologically.
The word. Thank you so much for that, Sarah. We have been pitted against each other. I think it's a chicken and egg situation, he says. Oftentimes, as single men meeting a sister, we have to break through all the barriers, past hurts and limiting beliefs left by their previous partners, as well as the disrespect that goes with it.
That's the same with everyone, though.
What's disrespect again?
That's the same with anyone. Anyone that's over 30 has a child, whatever. That's all women then.
So he says,
it's not just black women. That's all women and all men.
Is this black man riding in as a hero who is unscathed and whole?
Exactly. Who is this?
He's bringing his baggage too. Please.
Yeah, and you know what? He's got a god complex, so I don't be dealing with that.
So then he says, when many brothers experience this, it drives them into the arms of European women.
Drives them as if they're helpless.
But then European women have still got the same stuff as before.
Exactly.
Everyone's got baggage. Exactly. Everybody does.
And we drive them as if they have no choice. So if I tell you to go jump off a cliff, you're going to jump?
It's interesting, isn't it? Look, I'm playing devil's advocate here. Right? I'm passing on a message.
That is mad. All people, let this be known, all listeners will know this. By the time you get to 30, everybody in the whole planet has baggage.
Absolutely.
So I'm sorry. So suddenly we're finally finding out that white women don't have baggage. Sorry? But we do.
Yeah. I think this is my take on it. I think that yes, I think as a race of people, we've had a lot to go through, right? So yes, you may meet a woman who has had to, so for example, if a woman has been a single parent for a long time, she's had to sort of survive and be strong. And
trust me, she'll love you harder. So I can say.
Yeah.
And she's had to work through adversity, right? So she's fire fought. And she is, so she's going to come with that element, all right? That doesn't mean that she's not capable of loving
100%.
And being kind, opening her heart. But yes, I guess if you meet someone and they have worked through a lot of adversity, they've had, trauma, whatever in their lives, yes, you may have to, work through that. That is a factor.
That's the same for all races.
But I would say that was anyone. The reason why I'm saying that is just because as a race of people, I do think that sometimes we have had to go through perhaps more than.
I would agree, Karen. Last week, you remember I read from Bell Hooks when she was after 400 years of slavery. We don't know. It's not a given that we would know how to love because we're coming from such trauma and we've always been in survival mode. So if you are born from the descendants of the enslaved, you're born with baggage. It doesn't come because a man has hurt you. Because the ghost of what's been in our lineage, the generational trauma comes with. It's not just, oh, you had a relationship with Leroy and Leroy did bad things to you, so now
so now you
go get it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly right. You know, it's not that simple, is it? And what I'm saying is, underneath all of that, there is a woman who wants to love. She wants to give. She wants to be kind. It's just for you to support her in that.
I think also most black men I've met in my life, they're very into their cultural heritage, and they would want to have their food. They want to kind of live a certain way. They wouldn't want to have to explain about the way they look after their skin, etc. They wash their meat. I mean, that's just the people I know. But they would want, even if they were to date outside their race, then they want to make sure the person they're dating respects that. I don't know. In fact, I don't think I know any black men that are okay with trashing everything to do with being a black man. You know, obviously they're out there. That they don't want any of their own cultural food. They don't want anything. No. They're happy to let their skin crack and not,
and don't wash their legs and have unseasoned meat.
Yeah, just flung anyway from a packet into the pan or something, like with the blood dripping off it. That's okay. Yeah, if that's okay, I feel like any man that thinks that's okay, you need to go and talk to your mum, because I think that's not acceptable, really. And it's the same way around. If someone was Scottish and they had their values about being Scottish, why would they want to trash that? And go and I don't know, go and live with somebody that I don't know, go and season their meat or something. You know what I mean? Like, everyone, surely, if you're willing to turn your back on your own values, everything to do with yourself and the way you've been brought up, then that to me is a problem in itself. But that's probably a whole nother episode.
It is, and you need to look inside rather than blame black women for the point where you find yourself. Look inside. That's where the trouble is.
Nicely said. I'm playing devil's advocate tonight.
You devil.
I know.
You devil, Karen.
And I've got something else. So I've got another message. This was sent. I will leave this person anonymous. Okay. But this person has written in to say that he believes a man can love 2 women.
Oh, I've heard this before. This is a load of old baloney. Baloney.
Both of them?
Passionately?
I don't believe it. Sorry. No. Because I know I couldn't love 2 men.
This is a man saying that men can
love 2 women but then again, there are men that marry multiple women, aren't there, in other cultures? So
and polyamory exists.
That's true. Yes, that's very true. Yeah.
I could love 2 men.
Could you?
I could.
Could you?
I couldn't.
Yeah, I could.
Well, there'd be a very different way of loving them, wouldn't there? There'd be very different types of love. No?
Yeah.
No.
Well, I'll tell you what. So somebody who wrote in said that every love is different, and you can love 2 different. You can love 2 people for different reasons in different ways because they're so
2
different.
children, 2 of your own children, but 2 men. I don't know.
They even likened that to children.
It's different though. The way you love your kids is very different than the way you love a man.
True, romantic love is not the same as the love you have for your children. However, they were bringing in the sort of the comparison that both your children, you love them equally, but not the same because they're very different.
They're different people.
But then I guess the work I've done in my time with people that are poly, then that's also something they believe that they can.
They do believe
they can love multiple people.
What I think is that I believe that there are different levels of love.
Oh, definitely.
And that's why I think that for a man, he could possibly think that that's what he's doing. Because I think you can love somebody a little bit, and I think you can love somebody a lot.
Yeah, you're right, 100%.
And I think that when women love, I think we love at a 10, which is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
When we say we love someone, it means I love you to marry you, to be your wife, to be faithful to you, to honor you.
Very true.
When a man says he loves, he can love her enough to date her.
It's true.
He can love her enough to spend time with her. He can love her. And, I just think that it's on a spectrum, I would say.
You're
for
right.
some men. Not every man.
No, you're right.
But I would say for some men, it's on a spectrum, right? They can love you at about a 6. We go in and it's a 10.
Very true.
And I think that's the difference. So actually, I do think it took me a little while to get my head around this, but I think I've cracked it.
But not all cultures are monogamous.
No,
This is
absolutely.
quite a
True.
Western
It's a very
ideology.
Western ideology, absolutely.
This is why I know I could do it, because him, and him would mean something different.
You could go somewhere in the world, I'm sure, Kay, and that make your dream a reality.
But I've even met a woman who felt the same way.
Did she want to live with all these people?
No, she didn't want to live with them all. No,
I don't want to live with anyone.
They live with 3 of them. They're really annoying. 3 husbands, really irritating. No thanks. They can just come round and leave.
Exactly. Remember what I said in the episode we talked about old age? When I said I'll be a crone living at the edge.
That's right. You will be.
With my lovers coming in and out. I meant
That's
that.
right. On your porch. You're on the porch, aren't you? On the porch.
On my porch.
Yeah.
Slip out before daybreak.
That's
be
it, yes.
Respectful and,
I wouldn't have the energy.
3, no.
Because I think I give my all. I think I give my all, and that's why I think it would be I don't think it would be for me.
Not 3. I'm the same. I'm quite a monogamous type of gal.
Yeah.
I like to focus on.
Well, for me, if you're loving 2 people, male or female,
yeah,
or if you're bisexual and you have a female and a male partner, the key is going to be honesty.
Yes.
The reason why there's so much pain is because of the cheating and the secrecy.
and that's
right.
exactly what the person said in the message. They were saying that they believe in being honest, and if you could be honest, there would be no cheating. You would just say, look, this is what it is, and this is how I'm doing it.
That's right.
So many people wouldn't go for that because we are westernized and our views are based on Western.
But you know what?
values.
A lot of polyamorous clients I've had, they've all said the same kind of thing. It's about honesty.
Yeah.
Honesty.
Yeah.
And even if it's not honest, or as it's not a straight up discussion with the chosen partner, where I grew up, there was always a side chick and the wife, and everybody knew. And they knew their boundaries. And when funeral time come, everybody bawling. But mistress knows wife gets everything. She knows her place. She can hold her place. But it was accepted, and people would say, oh yeah, that's his wife, that's his mistress. Everybody in the community knew. And they lived harmoniously, I suppose, together. So for me, it kind of shows that maybe culturally, again, focus on our ancestry. Where are we coming from? Where in Africa were our ancestors based? What were their practices? Because we joke about Jamaican men thinking that monogamy is a piece of wood. That could be why.
I love that one.
That's hilarious.
Oh, it's too funny. Right.
How are we doing for time, ladies? I wanted to pick up on the point, the feedback about setting up relationships and how our choices, other way around, how our childhood experiences affect our choices of partner.
And also
Go on.
how our values affect the type of partner we choose. Because
Yes.
something else Robin talked about was the fact that he believes that our values dictate almost everything in our lives. Whatever we value is what we will invite in.
But then again, your values change, because my values I had 5 years ago are not the same as my values I have now.
True.
So
I can see that.
different.
Yeah, that's true. But whatever they are at the time is what you will.
My values were still probably the same, but I was swayed by somebody else. That's I think we've got to teach our young people about that. But then again, a lot of it's about life experience, isn't it? You know?
Because how do you know what your values are? I think
I had my values, but I was coerced into.
That's different though, isn't it? Because then they're not yours.
Yeah, but I thought they were. I think that's important.
Okay.
I thought they were. I really thought they were. I really did.
Yeah.
Until I realised, but they weren't.
They weren't. Okay. Yeah. I can see how that could be difficult. Yeah.
Because if I had the same values back then as I have now, I don't know how it worked with my partner now, because he's got the values I have now. So I don't know how that would work. It'd be odd.
And if we're being really honest, do we not sometimes see that the values are misaligned, but go into the relationship thinking he will change?
When I was younger, I did. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. Not now. God, no way. But
no, we've matured.
Yeah. Can't change him.
Yeah. Don't want to change
him.
him.
Yeah. I see that. Yeah, I know what you mean. I think that is really, really important.
Be true to your values. Be true to your values. That's so important. And know your values. If you can try and know your values.
If you don't know them,
Yeah.
you can't choose them. And it goes back to knowing yourself.
That's a really good point. And I think it takes time, doesn't it? To
Definitely.
get to know what your values are. You know, what do I value? What do I want for myself? And like you say,
right.
a lot of that will be to do with how you see yourself. How much do you value yourself? And we all have different sort of, I don't know, thresholds, don't we?
Yeah.
What I'll put up with, maybe you wouldn't.
That's
what
true.
you would put up with, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
We all have a line drawn, though.
Yeah, everyone's got
a
a line in the sand, but I think
Yeah.
it's knowing what your line is.
The trouble is, if you're with somebody that's slightly unhealthy, your line in the sand can get moved kind of further and further forward, I guess. Further and further forward.
Of course.
So, yeah, I think it's hard also because I think until you become, say, 30 plus,
Yeah.
does anyone really know who they really are? I always think 30 onwards really, truly are.
I would say not before 25 anyway, because that's when your brain finally fully develops.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it takes that long to mature and get a sense of who you are.
Then values come after that,
And
don't
then
they, Kay?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so it does take a while.
Yeah.
Robin has messaged in and he says, don't forget that sometimes opposites attract. Which is quite true. You can still have the same values though. Even if you're opposite in other ways. So perhaps you like different things.
Yeah, that's 100%. I mean, my partner, he does IT, and you know, me being a therapist, it's just no. We're very opposite. He's kind of very left brain, I'm very right brain. So, but that works because sometimes I think, you know,
But you still have the same
it
values,
balances
don't you?
out. Yeah, balances each other out.
Yeah,
So
sure.
opposites attract in that way, I guess. But I mean, it would be interesting. Does he mean opposites attract physically? We're talking about opposites attracting as in left brain, right brain. I mean, that's a big statement for opposites, I think. So
And I also think that you can be opposite in lots of ways, but I think when it comes to key things, like if I was going to
values.
start a family with someone,
yes, and they said no.
does he hold the things dear that I hold dear in
Yes.
terms of raising our children and where we want to live and our
That's right,
life
it's
goals
important.
and those sorts of things? I suppose in those ways you need to be in sync, I would say.
You
but
need
you
to
can
be,
be
yes.
opposite in other ways, can't you?
You can be, yes.
Don't opposites repel as well? So if you have two ends of an electrical thing,
Yeah, they do.
then they repel as well.
True.
Yeah, I'm going with that. That's so much work to make my opposite attractive. No,
No?
not for me.
So do you find that the people that you date are very similar to you?
Yes, even if they're pretending at first.
Oh, right.
I think someone said to me once, I know who it is, but I'm not going to name them.
Okay.
They said, just stick with your type. I know it sounds really cut and clean, but if you like a certain type of person, male, female, whatever, we're talking about personality in general. If this is the kind of person you like, stick with it. Because if you try and go out of it, kind of, I might try this person, that person, you never know, it might work. Okay, occasionally it might, but often it's like, no, I should have just,
That's a really
with
difficult
you.
one, actually. I'm
as
gonna.
long as they're not toxic type, we're talking about what you like.
The reason why I'm saying that is because
I didn't do lipstick my type, did I really? Oh dear.
I don't know. I know what you mean. I think sometimes you do have
Not
a certain
type, but
type
certain-
or certain attributes that you tend to go
Yeah,
for time and
attributes.
time again.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I
yeah.
get that. But sometimes, I don't know. Devil's advocate again.
Yeah.
Is it good to go outside of the box? Is it
To a
good to
degree.
go outside of what your comfort zone, outside of what you're used to? Might you find?
To a degree, I
know.
did slightly, and I won't go into it deeply, but I did slightly, didn't I, girls? Remember, I said, I'll never do this, never do that. I
Right.
did. And it's kind of best decision of my life, you know what I mean? Well, not of my life, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
It worked.
it worked, yes. But I guess, but that's still within a boundary.
So you didn't
It
go
was still
too
on a
far
boundary. It
outside
didn't
the
go-
box. You just
no.
slightly went
Yeah,
outside
exactly.
the box.
I
but
didn't go.
not too
Yeah.
far.
Well, given that my type is a person rather than an aesthetic.
Yes, yeah.
You know, the human body that you're in is your vessel. My type is the soul.
Yep.
Then it would be foolish to then go away from my type. To prove what? I already
I don't know.
So when you say that, though, what?
So my type is decent, spiritual, capable of love, is healing or has healed from past wounds, generous in spirit, funny, can talk patois, ideally. That's the thing. But my type is not what you look like, it's who you are. So then it wouldn't make sense for me to go for someone who, say, is very left brain, don't really do emotional stuff.
Religious.
Very religious, sees spirit and spirituality as something different to me. That's just looking for trouble. So no, I wouldn't go outside.
I think I would say that those are your values, though, because those are things that you value. Those are things that you hold dear. Spirituality.
It is. And so that's why for me, the package that it comes in is not priority.
I mean, to be fair, I don't have an aesthetic type. I don't know what I like. I just see it and I know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't sort of go, he has to look like this. For me, it's not.
But personality, you must have a certain type.
I think it's probably more to do with the things that I like. And where I go.
Like, you like music, don't you? And things
yes.
Like that. Say you met someone that wasn't really interested in live music or wasn't really interested in that, but everything else ticked the box. Would you entertain them?
I guess I'd go on my own. I said, because I guess it depends on...
Okay.
Yeah, it just depends, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're with
friends,
friends. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I've been in relationships where, we didn't have the same sort of taste in music or sort of leisure activities, really. I would do things and he would do things. We'd come together for other things.
Yes, yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm more thinking about how you love, how you live. That's my type, if I can simplify it. And some people do not come to the world from an honest place, from a place of knowing, from a place of understanding themselves. They operate on a different vibration that works for them. That's okay. But one of the reasons I don't date outside my race is because ancestry. Because I know what your ancestors did to mine. And your ancestors have a lot of volatility and bloodshed and hate in their DNA. I'm not messing with that. My ancestors come from a place of love, harmony, rhythm with nature. We're really peaceful people. Even when we're provoked, we're still, I think, quite peaceful. By, not thinking about gangs and how we live in the West, okay? If I'm dating a white person, I wouldn't. Because I know what your ancestors are like. And any minute now, that little DNA is going to slip out. I don't trust it. I can't trust it. That's why I don't date outside my race, because I don't think we're ever going to be on the same frequency. So despite how black men can, and this is to Robin specifically, despite how black men can mistreat and abuse at times their black women and diminish them, they're still number one for me. Because I know not all black men are the same.
And equally, I suppose, a white man could also mistreat his
100%
black partner.
My point, exactly.
Yeah.
Their DNA, their ancestry is volatile. So the assumption that there is safety in the arms of the oppressor is ludicrous.
I think everyone has a type. I mean, I'm my birth mum is half Irish, half, black, and my birth father is black Jamaican. So, I don't know. I prefer, and I have dated a black man. That's what I prefer, but it's not like Kay as such. It's just what I prefer. I just feel more comfortable aesthetic wise. I prefer, and, I just feel more comfortable with a black man. That's just what I like. And that's fine. If a white man just prefers a white woman and a white woman prefers white, that is cool. You do you, boo. I say, mate, do what you want to do.
Do you, and don't blame black women for your choices. That's not cool.
Well, on that note, I would just like to say, I think I'm really open. I don't know that I have a type. I would just like to keep it open. I'm just people who make me feel good. I feel good when I'm around them. That's really my type.
So actually then, if I could just turn to my book, The Vibrant Relationship. That's what I brought to answer the question of choosing partners.
Right.
A little bit of history. Choosing your partner with your heart only became common practice around 100 years ago. So, historically speaking, we are amateurs. in the art of marrying and living together out of love. We knew prior to that it would be very much based on family, society, in some places a caste system, etc., etc. So it's not automatic that we should be in a close relationship with another human being. Let's start there. Yeah, that we're choosing with our heart, but it comes with complications.
I mean, I was just going to say before you continue, Kay, that there are obviously, cultures where partners are chosen.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Where there are arranged marriages. I've met lots of people who have had their marriages arranged and they're very happy.
Yeah, exactly, because that's done in community and how your relationship. So I'm reading 2 books at the moment, The Spirit of Intimacy by Sobonfu Som and The Vibrant Relationship. It's a handbook for couples and therapists who work with couples. And both will say that historically, relationships were in community. It wasn't individualistic as it is in the West. You go out, you meet someone, and you decide this is it. No, it's a whole family and cultural setup.
Right.
So that if something goes wrong, you have the community to support you as well. So choosing from your heart, therefore, means your heart will sometimes, or you might sometimes choose what's not right for you because we're not taking the time to know the person. Karen, do you remember we did a podcast with our daughters?
Yes.
About having our families help us choose our partner.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
And Sarah was like,
no way. So I'm saying to you that Boris Johnson would have been chosen. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah, I remember you were saying that. But what if it wasn't that? What if it was that you took your time to get to know the person?
Now I think, my dad had to choose me a partner now, and it was a weird situation when I wasn't with my partner, and some weird reason my dad chose me a partner at 41. Now I know he gets it right because he knows what kind of man I like. But had I been 18, 19 or something, he'd have definitely chose me a Boris type.
I tell you what, I went to a wedding not that long ago, and this sort of, what shall I call it? The matrimony really was put together by the church. Right? So they met while in the church, and I think that it was encouraged by the church, right? Now, I would never put these two people together. You just wouldn't. When you hear his story, her story, you wouldn't imagine that they would have met anywhere other than the church. However, like I say, I went to the wedding. It's been several months now. They seem really happy. And I think that what happens when someone is chosen for you and you trust the judgment of the people who've done the choosing, I think your values are different. Yeah. Because like you say, you're not going with your heart. You're going with what's going to work. Who's the person who's going to love me, take care of me, who's going to share my values, who's going to share in, the things that I want for myself, for my children, etc., etc. I think if you started like that, is it more likely to work because you're not going with your heart? It's not temperamental. It's not based on a whim. It's not based on how you're feeling that morning. It's not based on what he looks like. It's purely based on the values that have been instilled in you and which hopefully your partner will share and the community you live in.
Absolutely. And beyond that also is the thinking that relationships serve a purpose. It's not just for pleasure.
Absolutely.
So what is the purpose of us two coming together?
Absolutely. That's a really good point. Yeah. It's not just for my entertainment or for my fulfillment. I'm actually, I'm part of a wider thing here,
Yeah. So to answer the question that was posed, I'll keep it really simple. It says, we look at the world through the spectacles we created ourselves from our childhood. Come back. You're listening to Beautifully Melanated podcast live on Lightning Radio on 90.8 FM frequency. And you can also listen in on lightningradio.net. Before the break, which we haven't quite yet figured out the ad situation, so do bear with us. We were talking about relationships from a different perspective, bigger than the individual, wider than just you and I, more for community perspective. And I wanted to answer the question that was asked about how our experiences shape how we choose. So I'll start again because I was talking while the ad breaks were running. Basically, the author was saying, because we look at the world through the spectacles we created from our childhood, any couple who makes the conscious decision to unpack their baggage and thereby explore the meaning of conflict, differences, frustrations, etc., they can create an opportunity for themselves to set out on a new and exciting phase in their relationship. We believe the baggage we carry with us from our childhood into adult life can be explored and understood using the following constructs. So this is how we choose our partner, consciously or unconsciously. 1, from our experiences of being nurtured, from our strategies for survival.
Oh, yeah.
From our attachment behavior, or adaptation of ourselves and the neurobiology of our brain. So what they're meaning is baggage from your infancy and childhood are needs that our parents failed to fulfill. Not necessarily intentional, they just weren't met. Okay. And so the unmet needs, they run deep, and that's what we unconsciously look for in a partner, to fill that gap. So interesting. Yeah. Robin talked about baggage as if we arrived in adulthood with them from previous relationships. We don't. They've come from our childhood. Painful longings and unmet needs run deep. And so in relationships, we look to get them met. So Janice, I hope that answers your question in terms of how does our early experiences shape the partners we choose. This is how. So Sarah, you were saying yes, yes, and yes. Let's talk a little bit about our experiences of nurture and our survival strategies.
I think I can kind of relate this to when I was a young child, a baby. Obviously, I went into foster care myself. I was a few months old, just under a year, and I was adopted when I was about a year and a half old. So I know in relationships and stuff in the past, I have to be very wary that I can be both avoidant, and then I can also be kind of insecurely attached. Where it's interesting because I'm not a person that would appear to be needy, but I am at times. I can just crave, if I feel like I'm struggling in life, I would ask my partner, I just want to be held and be secure and know that I'm loved. That's all I want. I just want to know I'm loved and to be cuddled and held, and just like a newborn baby, I guess. It's what I absolutely crave. If I'm cuddled and loved and told that I'm loved, then I feel that the world's okay. But the only person that can give me that kind of stability and security is my partner. There is no one else on this planet that can make me feel like that. I've always been like that. But I guess that also does, I think when you are a child that's fostered and you are a child that's adopted and all that jazz, that's so early on that I was put into that foster home that I needed that. And that's one thing that I do need now still, just to be embraced and held. And then we were talking about love languages as well. And I think one of mine is definitely physical touch. Definitely. Yeah. So, that is definitely always something I've looked for in a partner. I don't think I could be with a partner that was very kind of hands-off type of person that didn't want any affection. I'd find that incredibly upsetting, and I'd find that absolutely horrific, actually. So, I guess that's something I've carried over to my relationships now. Yeah. How about you, ladies?
I'm having to really think about this. I was brought up in a very loving home. I felt very secure. My attachments, I think, were very secure to both my parents, particularly my mother. She was very, very nurturing, still is now, bless her. For example, I tell you what, I went away to the Netherlands. I went to Amsterdam and left my mum to look after my youngest. And when I got back, she'd clean the oven. Oh, wow. It was spotless. Honestly, I could see my face in it. She'd clean the front door, the front step.
Yeah.
We did the garden. I mean, like this woman is serious and she's, in her 80s. So my mother is very, very loving, and I had a lot of love. I was very, very fortunate. But I think one thing, I've said this to you ladies before on a previous podcast, is that I tend to attract men who remind me of my dad. I think I do tend to date I mean, unintentionally, but looking.
We
yeah,
all
We
do.
all know.
Unconsciously, we
Unconsciously,
all
yeah,
do.
absolutely.
That goes back to what I was saying last week about sitting in the restaurant, you know, opposite my dad, and suddenly I was sitting opposite my partner and realising, yes,
They
this
do
is
the
the man
same
I want to
thing.
be with.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't it-
You know?
isn't it weird?
We got
Yeah.
into the same type of
Yeah,
car. I
yeah.
was like, this is comfortable.
Yeah.
That's what I like. So maybe is that what was your dad like, Karen? How is it the same as the men?
He was very
track?
strong. He was a very strong man. He adored his children. He was a family man. He was
So it has to be a family man, and family man is who you're.
I do like somebody who's family oriented.
Yes.
orientated because
Definitely.
I've obviously I've got children.
Yeah. Would you date a man with no children?
As long as he knows I can't give him any.
No toy boy for you then?
Yeah, that window's closed. But yeah, so yeah, like I say, subconsciously, I think I've just gone for someone who is like my dad. Yeah, so he was a good man. He was, what can I say about my dad? He was, like I say, loved his family. Yeah, I think it's just his strength. He was just like a tower of strength. He was never ill. He was just just always there, you know? He was,
Was he romantic to your mother? Did
not
you see
particularly.
that?
No, not
Or
particularly.
is it of an era where they wouldn't have shown that necessarily in public?
I think they
Was that-
wouldn't. I think, he came from that sort of generation, that kind of time where he wasn't necessarily very romantic, but I knew he loved her.
Yes.
I could see
Yes.
that there was love. And
His love language was not physical touch. Your dad.
I guess not, but my mum's was. He showed
Yeah.
her love in different ways.
Yes, yeah, of
You know,
course,
but
yeah.
I knew that there was love, and my mum was, she'd fuss around him and stuff, and just watching their interaction. And like I say, I've looked back on my past relationships. I said, oh my goodness, like he reminded me, we're like mum and dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah, so it's weird, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. So my attachment style, ambivalent, which is kind of dismissive, non-committal, not 1 minute, but I can be attached, but I can also pull away. That's my survival strategy. So in relationships, if there's a disagreement and I feel like we can't resolve it, I'll withdraw and almost stonewall. Not helpful.
It's interesting
Not
you know
helpful
that
at
about
all.
yourself, though.
I do know that about myself. And so I'm ambivalently attached. To be in a relationship with another ambivalently attached person, then we're always going to be doing a little dance. He pulls, I push away. I push away, he pulls closer. And so, you could forever be doing that dance unless you're both consciously aware that this is my survival strategy. This gets activated in our relationships. Let's consciously plan how to work around it if I'm dysregulated and I withdraw.
Have you met someone who was emotionally intelligent enough to be able to identify that in themselves?
No. No. And didn't want to learn either. It was all me. The problem was me. But their own attachment style was incredibly avoidant.
Oh, yes.
So when emotions and feelings came up, they'd be at the door.
Have you also been able to address your attachment style? Have you been able to say, I know that this is what I do in relationships, and therefore I'm actually going to address this and try to do something different? Have you ever been able to do
Yes.
that? Okay. And was that successful?
Short-term successful, yes. But the partner I was with at the time didn't then want to address his avoidance. He felt I should be able to understand it, seeing I understand myself so well.
Okay, and he wasn't willing to address his, even though he expected you to address yours.
Exactly. So in fact, he stonewalled me to the point where it's like I was in Siberia.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah, it was awful.
That's horrible.
Okay.
Yeah. But this is just going to show you how your attachment style will impact how you behave in relationships, particularly when things aren't great. When things are good, it's easy to ride on the wave of the high of love. But when it comes down to the
Nitty gritty and the
Yeah.
work of a
That's
relationship,
it.
putting the graft.
when the romantic bit is worn off and you're
long
now
gone.
facing real life, you
Yep.
you need to know, how do I show up in relationships? What were my survival strategies as a child?
That's right.
Because that's what's going to be activated. It's become part of our personality
Sure.
structure.
Yeah, sure.
And people just go drive. I mean, I know my driving force. I know when I feel kind of, I need to be held and told. And I thought, okay, this is the baby version of me.
Yeah.
Like, it's all nice to have kind of, because you know then, even when your partner will be loving and kind, and you're thinking, this isn't enough, I need more. It's like, kids, calm down. You know what I mean? You don't need more. The man's just given you this and this yesterday.
Yeah.
You don't need more. You're not left out in the cold. As a baby you were, but you're not now. You know, this driver for more and more and more and more.
Do you find that happens a lot then? Because you're saying to yourself, you're consciously having to say to yourself, I know I was, but this isn't happening
That's
now.
what,
It's okay,
I
relax.
find, but it'll only happen to me normally when I'm stressed about something else.
Okay.
You know, then I'll feel like I need the support, and then I'll get the support, and I'll feel I need more. And I'll just feel like I need, but then I'll think, what do I actually need though? Because I've had what I've asked for. So what do I actually need? And all I need is to be held and told that I'm safe and I'm loved. And then I know it's the baby me.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
yeah, that I know myself well. I
think that's the key thing, isn't it? I think it's knowing yourself.
And I'll tell my partner as well. I can tell him, this is how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And I'll say, I need to be held and told I'm loved, and can I have loads of hugs? And he goes, yeah, cool. I don't have to explain about the ins and outs. I'm like, I need to be held constantly. So, yeah, cool, okay.
And for me, I need space. I said that last week. When I need to retreat, if I don't retreat, I'll be agitated, stressed. I'll lose my temper quickly. The pull away, I need that.
You need that space.
So I need a partner who's confident and comfortable with me having my own space.
Yeah.
You need your own space. It's very important to have your own space.
It's very
You've got
important to me.
I hate people that constantly on my tail, like, just, you know, what
clingy,
you're doing, where you're
yeah.
going. I hate that. That's my absolute worst partner. What you're doing, where you're going, who you're going with. Awful. I'm just going to go out with my friends.
Yeah.
You should trust me, you know? I don't do it to you. I'd never say to someone, what you're doing, where you're going, who you're going with. I'd never dream of that.
Nah, I don't care.
Like,
I don't care enough. That's the ambivalence.
I just can't imagine it. I have to say, all the partners I've never had anybody ever question that, and I've never questioned them.
Actually, I was in a relationship where I was questioned. I think it was the person's insecurity.
Yeah, definitely.
And they found that very difficult. I think that they had, yes, obviously they'd experienced trauma in their own childhood. And I think they had an issue with trust. Trust was very, very difficult. And so, that played a big part in our relationship, actually. That was really difficult because I needed to be trusted.
Of course you did. Yeah, of course you did.
Yeah.
It's horrible if you're not trusted.
Yeah.
You're not done the thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being thought of.
But I remember that it's not personal. You know, his baggage it's not personal to me.
Probably his mother. Probably his mother.
Yeah. Right. So it belonged to him, but it did make it very difficult to kind of navigate my way through that.
Yeah. And this is where you would need couples therapy so that you both have a safe space to talk about the difficulties and work through them, because relationships can be restored if we take the time to understand each other at this depth and this level. And we're not equipped to do it on our own.
Yeah.
We will need couples therapy or individual therapy, then couples therapy, to understand how our child selves show up in relationships.
Definitely.
Am I expecting my partner to act like my dad or the dad I didn't have but wanted?
Yes.
Sure. Or the mother.
Or the mother who didn't love or nurture enough.
Yeah. 100%.
Do I want my wife to act like my mother?
Be a mother to me, yeah.
Yeah, to nurture me in that way. And that's fair if she knows what she's signing up for.
Yeah. And if that works for the two of you.
Yeah.
However, I don't
That'll
know.
fizzle out. If you become a caregiver, everything else in a relationship will fizzle.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, won't it? Unless you're into that, and then that's a whole nother
And that's
thing.
a whole nother podcast.
If you're into caregiving,
I
that's
think you
something
get
else.
professionals to do that. If that's your thing.
Professional what, Kate? What type of professionals?
The one I could be very good at. I think I'd make a very good dominatrix. I do.
I think you would. That's it. Pay my shopping. That financial. Pay my shopping bill. You can get online shop. Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
don't want
financial
you to
one.
lick my shoes.
No, you just put money in my account.
Now we're talking.
We should transfer it now, you piece of you know what.
And if you want me to flog you, I'll flog you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's our feedback from last week.
Moving on swiftly,
If
ladies.
you are just tuning in, you are listening to Beautiful and Melanated podcast on Lightning Radio. And this week we said we were going to start to look at relationships in the workplace and in friendships, so platonic ones. And I'm thinking, I know we've done an Instagram poll about how you met your best friend, but perhaps we can start with ourselves first. or how you are in work relationships?
I'm very excited about this one today because I'm going to start to talk about my platonic friendships. Okay. So this afternoon I traveled to London and I went to the Ivy Asia. Very nice restaurant indeed. To celebrate my bestie's 50th birthday.
Wow.
She doesn't look a day over 21, tell you. And I met her when we were about 7 years old.
Oh, wow. You've been ages.
A long, long time.
Wow.
And I was even saying to my daughter, I said, look at that, So it's a group of 4 of us, actually. And the 3 of us went to school together. And then we have another friend who we've known shortly after leaving school. So maybe like around about 15, 16, we were. And so, I've known these girls forever. And I was just saying to my daughter how blessed I feel to still have them in my life. That we go out together. Like I say, went to Amsterdam together. It was part of a birthday celebration. We're looking at where we're going to go together for my birthday. Because I've got a big birthday coming up.
When's your birthday?
August.
Okay.
And yeah, so my friends feature very, very heavily in my life, right? Like I say, we've known each other forever. They've been there, they've been there through the highs, the lows. They were there when my children were born, all the sort of, significant moments, when I got married, in Jamaica on the sand, my best friend was there.
Oh,
yeah.
Lovely.
So we've shared a lot. I've witnessed, her highs, lows, her having her children. And we did lose touch for some time. I got married and, things kind of change but she was always there. Even if we didn't talk all the time, she was always there. And now we are back together. And we're going on girls' trips and those sorts of things. And I do think about people who don't have, solid friendships. I know lots of women, particularly my age, if they wanted to go out, their friends are married and therefore they don't go anywhere anymore. They don't really have anyone that they can go shopping with, or they don't have anyone they can go on holiday with. And that's quite lonely, I thought. And I thought, how blessed am I? I'm so lucky to have these girls. So yeah, the 4 of us were out, eating, chatting. We have the same sense of humor. Our points of reference are the same.
Yeah.
We went to the same school. We remember the same things. Yeah. And I just thought, wow, how amazing is this? So yes, I have known my friends for a long time. And equally, you guys.
Before we move on, I wanted to ask you, Karen, did you find any of the difficulties in the female relationships, as we've talked about in the romantic, i.e., were there power struggles? Were there difficulties understanding each other? Were there survival strategies and all of that affected the relationship?
What's really funny is that we are all very, very, very different characters. Like, if you see us together, you'll go, okay, she's the, So I think I'm the quirky one because I like nothing. I'm very, very picky, very, very fussy, and they all know me. So the menu comes out and they go, oh, Karen won't like this. Oh my gosh, I don't know what you're going to have, Karen. Do you want to try this? Do you want to try? And then they know what I'm like. And it's just so funny because they know me so well. But we're all very different. So yes, you have got some that are perhaps stronger in character. We've got one, and she booked everything, that one that sorts everything, the organizer.
That'll be me. I need to know exactly where we're going.
So she sorted everything out. We've got, someone else who is, I don't know, she's like the fashionista. She loves all things aesthetically pleasing. But, they're all so warm. They're all so loving. They're all, and then you've got one who's really funny. We're all so different. But I think we complement each other. And when we were growing up, yes, of course there'd be difficulties. There is a power struggle because you're finding yourself, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're finding yourself, you're finding out who you are, and you're finding out your place in that group.
That's right.
And we would often pair off. So you could have 2 of us together. You could have the other 2. You could have, because there's crossover, isn't there?
Yeah.
But it just worked because here we are. This is like, 43
That's amazing.
years
That is
on,
seriously amazing.
Yeah.
and we are, like thick as thieves.
Yeah.
We text each other. I've got, messages that we send each other regularly. We're on group chats. We talk almost every day.
Yeah.
And it is, like I say, I just feel so blessed to have, you know, these wonderful women in my life. So yeah.
Yeah.
That's
amazing.
my story.
That is.
That's amazing. That is. Kay?
Yeah, so I was just thinking, I have been really fortunate. I have met really good friends every decade of my life.
Wow.
I've met you two ladies in my
I was going to
fourth
say,
decade.
we need to talk about our friendship.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we will talk about friendship.
I've been really fortunate. I have really good friends who I can give my PIN number to,
Yeah.
who are in my will to make sure my body gets back home to Jamaica if I die here.
Yeah.
Yeah, not buried here.
No, they know.
Crematorium.
No crematorium. And they're constant. My sister probably is my oldest friend because obviously we were born in the same family. And she's incredible. Really, really incredible. I love her dearly. But I'm thinking of my oldest friend that I'm still friends with. So we were 17. We had just moved to university in dorm. She was coming in from the Cayman Islands. So I was one of the first in the room of 5 because I'm local. All my roommates were coming in from the Caribbean. And I remember hearing her come in late at night and thought, let me pretend to be asleep. And she'd come in with another Caymanian. And all I could hear was swearing. She was trying to find her bedding. And it was just, nah, 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 nah. And I just burst out laughing. Because for her, swearing was punctuation. We are still friends to this day. No matter how much time has passed, I can pick up the phone and I say, I have something to tell you. And she will tell me what it is before I say it.
Yeah.
Same for me and her.
Yeah.
And then I have friends who will sit in the darkness with me when things get rough and say nothing and need nothing.
Yeah.
I have the friends who will check me and hold me accountable.
Yeah.
I think in groups of friends, I'm the down-to-earth funny one.
That's the role you play.
But also, I think where it's gotten tricky, I have lost friends over the years, is that when I get angry, I will blow. It's really quick. It's right there, but then I calm right down. But on the receiving end, it's not okay.
Yeah.
So I'm learning to do better with that. I don't hold the anger very long, but I have been known to just go,
Okay.
"Da-da!"
But they know you.
And they know me.
Okay. They give you space.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have good friends I met while I was training as a counselor, and we're still friends. And honestly, 2, 3 a.m. in the morning, we'll be talking
Still chatting,
when things are difficult, and we laugh at ourselves. It's brilliant. I'm loved. I'm very, very loved. And I think it's focusing on the friendships of the women in my life that made me realize romantic love is not something I really need to be spending decades chasing. I am loved.
You are.
And it's wonderful. And so now if a man is to come into this circle of women, everybody's going to have a say. That's my community.
Yeah.
My sister will see a picture and go, no. She cracks me up. She will look at a picture and go, no. He's not the one. And don't bring him here. But yeah, he will be subject to a village experience. I am not dating in isolation. No.
Yeah,
my women
yeah.
will help me to choose.
Yeah.
How about you, Sarah?
I'm similar to UK. I have a very kind of varied group of friends. I've got a really core best friend. Her name's Martha. I need to send a link for this actually, so she would listen.
Yeah.
And I met her in a nightclub when I was about 21. And I was big into clubbing that age, that kind of age and stage of my life. And what I love about Martha is the fact that we're so similar, but we're not. A bit like what Kay said, I could just call her up, or I could even just be sitting feeling away, and she'll message me saying, you're feeling away, aren't you? You know, which I won't say that, that's not her words, but you know what I mean? She's in sync and I'm in sync with her. And when we see each other, which she lives now in Somerset, we were both in London, we used to live in South London, but she's in Somerset now with her husband and children, and obviously I'm in Kent, and we see each other maybe twice a year, but when we do see each other, it's like a coming home for me.
Yeah.
It's like the way I feel about her is just, it's like sitting with, I don't know, it's also my parents. It's more comfortable than that. You know, this is someone that could live with. But I just love her. She's amazing. I could tell her anything. I have told her anything. And when we do see each other, we'll talk, and even on the phone, about every couple of months, we'll talk for like 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah.
We're just and we always never finish a conversation. We never finish the conversation. Forever.
Never ends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I think our husband came along. We had lunch once. He's like, I'm never coming along again. You know, so just leave you guys to it. You know, I'll take the kids. Just, you know, so our kids are cool because our kids will go off and play.
Yeah.
And we can talk. But I think if anybody else is involved, it doesn't work. Any adult involved doesn't work. But you have kids of similar age. She's great. And then, like UK, I've got some really good friends I've kind of met as I've gone along the way. You girls who I've met as I've gone along the way.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And also I've made some really good friends from uni.
Same.
They're really good friends. I've made some brilliant friends who I still see to this day and I still talk to regularly. And they're amazing, you know? And from work, I mean, gosh, I met you at work, didn't I, Karen?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right. There are people that I meet along the way, along, you know, my life's journey. Both of you ladies included in
Definitely.
that. And I think as you grow, you do change and you invite people into your life that I think, well, I'll speak for myself. I think I invite people into my life who elevate me, who
I agree.
make me feel valued and loved and sort of share, I don't know, my values, I guess.
I guess you have
Those
different
kind of
types,
people.
don't you? Because I've got some, well, there's people I used to kind of work with, a couple of people that they would see themselves as friends to me, but I don't see them as a friend.
They're
I kind of-
associates. Sort of.
They're a bit more than an associate, but they're not quite a friend. I don't know what that bit
Okay.
is in the middle. Like I'd meet up with them for lunch,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't invite them to my wedding. You know what I mean?
So actually, you touch on something there, the workplace relationships. Yeah, maybe only 2 people in my work life I would invite to a wedding. The rest of people I know that I work with, and we have a vibe and we can drink wine together, but that's it.
That's it. It's where it ends.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I've been to quite a few of my work colleagues' weddings.
Really?
I have,
Really
yeah.
interesting.
Because I find that at work, so I'm part of a team. There's a pastoral team. And I'd probably invite all of them to my wedding.
Would you?
Yeah. Because
Wow.
we get on really well. We have a WhatsApp chat group.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do, you know, buy Christmas presents. We visit each other.
Nice.
I mean, you know, not often, Christmas or whatever.
Yeah.
But I get on really well with them. I think that, I don't know, having been born in this country as a black woman, I feel like it gives me, I don't know, like I have dual culture in a way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I can be with people at work, and they are a group of white people actually. But we just get on.
Yeah, of course.
There are lots of
definitely.
things that
Yeah,
we
definitely.
have in common, and we
Yeah,
can talk about
definitely,
stuff, and I enjoy their company. So yes, I can hand on heart say I would invite them all to my wedding.
That's a whole other thing, isn't it? When you think about your wedding, I'm thinking about having everybody. I don't know for everybody I know how that would even work anyway, because
Yeah.
I think, anyway, that's a whole other
But what I mean, not, all right, we're not looking at like practically
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
logistically
Yeah.
how that would
Yeah.
work. But I'm saying, do I value these people enough to invite them to my
Yeah.
wedding?
And
Yes,
yes,
I
you do.
Yes.
That's interesting because work, I think it depends what work, because there's some work that some places I've been to that I wouldn't really want to invite anybody from there to my wedding. But then when I think the places I've worked, therapeutic places I've worked, I make more connections. I'm not sure
I
about
agree
yourself.
with that too.
When I'm working in a school, not so much, because I don't really massively connect so much as where I'm working now, or one of the jobs I do now, where I would connect more personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those
For
type of
sure.
people.
Kim and Claire, I know you listen to the podcast. Of course you're invited. But those are friends. Those are friends. They're not just people I work with. They're friends.
They're friends.
But
And you can meet really good, like Sarah was just saying, you can meet really good friends, long-lasting
Yeah,
friends. at work.
Definitely, of course you
yeah,
can.
for
Yeah,
sure.
you can.
Shout out Wainscott Primary. That's where I met Karen. That's where I met Karen. It is though, isn't it? We
Yeah.
met at work.
Yeah, we did. Yes,
We no longer do work there, but we met at work.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, wonderful. I think I struggle with work relationships because when I was working in Jamaica, I don't think it's the same now, but before I came to England, it was very formal. and you didn't call anybody by their first name unless you were friends outside of work.
Okay.
Inside your work, you use their title, Mrs. So-and-so, Miss So-and-so, because it delineates the relationship.
Sure.
So my first name is only used if we're friends. So when I came to England and they said, "Oh, this is Gary, your boss," I'm like, "What?
Yeah.
I must call him Gary, not Mr. Something."
Yeah.
It was so wild
weird.
to me.
Yeah.
It felt intimate, but I don't know you.
Yeah. It's like when I talk to my head teacher,
Yeah.
I call her by a name. Whereas at first I thought, wouldn't it be polite to use her last name?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
actually, it's all very friendly. It's very relaxed.
If the
all
kids
quite
are around,
funny.
you have to call them by the
Yeah, you do.
formal,
You
don't
say Miss or whatever,
Mrs.
whatever.
So-and-so,
Yeah. But when you're together, I call the head by her name.
Yes.
And she calls you by my
That's
name.
right,
It's
yes.
all very-
Right.
Yeah. And I know what you mean. I think in Jamaica, things are much more formal.
Yeah.
And I think here, it's, by comparison, it's very relaxed, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a confusing false sense of intimacy. I'm using your first name. I don't even know you.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I like you, but I'm calling you by your first name. So there was that blur for me between what's friends and what's work. And it was a really uncomfortable, I would say 10 years at least.
Really used to that.
Yeah, before I got used to
The
it.
thing is, we have to remember though, Sarah, that she's come from Jamaica. It's culturally quite different, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's even like, I know slightly going off topic, but it's like when my children meet the parents of their friends. So growing up, I would always say Mrs. So-and-so, Mr. So-and-so, right? Because they're my elders and that's the way I was raised.
Yeah.
And, or if it was my mother's friend, she'd be called Auntie,
Auntie.
whatever.
Yeah, I say
Whether-
Naya, my daughter Naya, if she's going to one of her friends' house that's African, I say you got to call them auntie.
Yeah.
But if it's the Jamaican or mixed race, just call her, I don't know,
Whatever her
Jane.
name is.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But she knows now. That
She knows
She
where
goes
to,
to
like,
her
turn
other friend
up.
Karen. She's going to call mum auntie.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
knows.
Isn't that weird though?
Yeah.
You know that she now has
She
sort of
knows my
adjusted-
partner's family. You
Yeah.
call, my partner's
auntie.
sister auntie. You
Yeah,
know that.
yeah.
And her mother's also called auntie.
Yeah.
Go and give that to auntie.
Everyone's
Which one?
auntie. Yeah.
There's so many aunties. I don't know which one.
I remember having to say to my children, that's your titled aunt and that's your blood aunt.
Yeah.
Aunt is a title of respect.
Yeah, exactly.
But I had to call my parents, a couple of my parents, women friends, I had to call them auntie. And they're white, so I don't know what that was about. But yeah.
Or maybe there are similarities in
They said it was respectful. Yeah. Auntie.
the tradition. And I quite like it.
Me too.
Because actually, when my children call an adult Jane,
Yeah.
I'm jarred by that.
I'm not entirely comfortable.
Sorry, girls. Niall knows you now as the Karens. Too
Well, let
late.
her off.
But I will drill it into her that whenever she goes round to her African friends' house, she can't be just calling, oh yeah, that's Jane. She's got to call them auntie.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Back to the point you were making, Karen. You said you were taking a slight detour. Do you remember the point?
Oh no, I was just talking about no. It was flowing so nicely then, Kay, and then you
Apologies. We were talking about work relationships, if that helps. And yeah, I'm lost too. I don't know where we were with that.
I think we were saying that I was saying it's really good because we met at work, didn't we? And we were saying there's different types of relationships and friendships because I was thinking there's people at my last job maybe that I would have lunch with and a glass of wine with. Would I invite them to my wedding? No. And then you said yes, but you would invite people that you work with to your
would
wedding.
indeed, that's true. That's true.
If we're friends, yes. Mm-hmm. But generally in workplaces, I am not comfortable with sharing my personal business in the coffee room.
Oh, I hate all that stuff. Avoid that stuff. Avoiding.
It depends though.
Oh shit! Do you know I've worked at places where people do not know the name of my children because they don't even come up. It's not a thing.
Yeah.
But then that's big. That's to do with the nature of your work relationship, right? So if I wasn't working in a place and I didn't really feel particularly
comfortable there.
or I didn't really gel with anyone. Yeah, I've worked in places where I didn't make any friends. Didn't make any friends at all. We were colleagues, we were civil, but there's no one that I would see outside of what that's happened to me on many occasions. That's different, isn't it? But if you're working somewhere else and actually do gel with the person, you do get on, you've got things in common, perhaps your children are similar ages, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. You'd have a different experience. It just depends on the people and where you are. Yeah. Whether you're enjoying the job or not, I imagine will be a factor.
Yeah. I think also that where I was in my last job, when I was in the school and that it was quite isolated because my room was in such a place where, people didn't, it wasn't like a throughway and people had to come and find me.
Sure.
And obviously as working as a counsellor in a school with teachers, they're just not going to work in the school I worked in. So I didn't find any kind of cohesion. There was maybe a couple of people I talked to, but
see, that's the thing. I think as a counsellor, it is a little bit more isolating because you are in your room on your own. Yeah. Whereas, so I am the wellbeing manager, but I'm part of a team.
Yes, that's
so
different.
We have lots of meetings. Right. We work together on a lot of. So I do feel like part of something. Yeah. I don't feel isolated so much, and we do spend a lot of time together. We work on really sensitive cases as well. Yeah, there are lots of really, really sensitive issues.
We did that, but we weren't a team.
Sure, and I get that, and I get that, and I think that's what's been helpful in my role. It's a new role that I think they've recognised the need for it. Yeah. So I would have to liaise with all those people to kind of collate the support that the students need. And so, like I say, you work on really, really sensitive topics. You discuss really, really sensitive issues. I think that brings us closer together as well. I've seen my colleagues cry, become emotional.
You think it would, but then again, look back at my work, it just didn't bring any closeness. None. Because everybody was doing all that was quite fake. So I think in your situation, yes, it did. But I just guess that's your school, isn't it?
I think it's the group of people I happen to be.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
it's the blessed to work with.
Yeah,
right?
You're right. Yeah.
It's
the
very
people,
much,
not the situation.
I think it's definitely the people.
Yeah.
Like I say, I have worked in places where I have felt nothing for anyone. I go home.
So I can go and be upset and work and all that, but as a team, but there was no connection at all.
Like I say, that's happened to me also. I would never see these people again. I left that job.
Yeah, that's right.
We wouldn't even exchange numbers.
Yeah.
And that really is down to the people, maybe the environment, whatever it is.
But I find that's people with different jobs. I found in my last place where I used to work that's because they were the teachers and they didn't understand the therapeutic point of view. That's the hurdle.
It's always an uncomfortable rub.
It is. Where now I work with one of my jobs, I work with fellow, counsellors and therapists, and that is great. Yeah. We have no issues there. We all talk. I feel supported. I feel like I'm part of a team. Yeah. We kind of think about things together therapeutically, and that's what I like.
I think the other thing about my role is just like you said, I've been able to, or part of my role, as I see it, is to address that kind of disparity between teachers and pastoral staff.
Yes.
Because there is a massive disparity, right? Teachers often don't get it. No, so-and-so's playing up, they're out of order, let's sanction. And my role is to say, actually, what is going on for Tommy? Yeah. Like, what is this? Yeah. What's happening at home for Tommy? Let's have a look at,
what's actually happening.
The bigger picture.
Tommy's life.
In Tommy's life. Yeah. So before we start sanctioning, throwing things out, let me ask Tommy's mum to come in. Let's have a little chat, and then
But that's good, because you're considered. I think where I used to work, there was no consideration. It's like Tommy's in isolation, you had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah.
It
would have been put there.
Yeah.
It was the same. Yeah. You'd go to pick the child up for their therapy session and the teacher's giving you a rundown of their behavioural problems. I don't care.
Yeah.
So all you're doing is shaming the child in front of me. It's not coming in the room. Yeah. But it's almost like fix him. He's been naughty or she's been naughty.
That's right.
And you don't have a working relationship where you understand each other's role.
Yeah. That's right.
Where for me, I understood you're an educator. And that's going to be your first priority is to teach. So one disruptive child, that would really set you off. But I understood that and I held that. But I didn't feel that they understood that my role was not to make the classroom easier.
Mm-hmm. No, it isn't.
It's not.
And so I do a lot of work with training teachers around difficulties that students might experience, which in turn will be a barrier to their learning.
So they hear you. The teachers all hear you and understand you.
They will come and see me. I go and see them.
So that's good. That's good.
That's the unusual. Whole point of my role. And it is a new role.
Yeah.
They've never had it before. Yeah. But it's really, really important.
It's very important.
And the thing is, like, it feels as if they value my opinion.
Good.
Great.
So they will
That's
come in
good.
and I'll say,
That's
look, I'm
important.
having really some difficulties with so-and-so. What do you suggest? And I'll say,
Yeah.
okay, I've met mum. This is what's going on at home. And I can send emails or I can put a plan in place to support that child. And I can work with teachers to do it. That's why I think that, this role is it's new, isn't it? But I think that they're realizing that there needs to be that. There needs to be that sort of person to bridge the gap between.
Starts with the head.
Yeah.
You've got a good
Yeah,
head teacher.
absolutely.
Then employ some decent teachers. And there are teachers out there, my goodness, I'm not saying all teachers. There are some amazing teachers out there that actually give a crap about the kids and want to do better and want to listen to ways to try and help, say, Tommy or whoever we're talking about, But I guess it's refreshing to hear, Karen, your experience, because as you know, my experience in a school is very different. Very, very different. But then again, like you said, I was part of a team, but I wasn't part of a team like you were.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Sure.
So if you're just joining us, you're listening to Lightning Radio, and we are a beautiful Melanated podcast. We're talking relationships. Ladies, I have a question for you. We've all talked about our friendships with women. Are any of you friends with a man?
Oh, I have got a really, really close platonic friendship with a man. He's a really good friend. I actually met him at work.
Okay.
I met him at
Some
work.
more.
Right, yeah. So he's a teacher. And we met for lunch, actually, just 2 days ago. And I brought my daughter, my youngest, and we sat and chatted. And later on, he called me and said, wow, your daughter's grown up so beautifully and, so eloquent. We were able to have a chat and blah, blah, blah. And I thought it was really, really nice that she could sit and have a really lovely conversation with my male friend. He's just a really lovely person. We talk about all things, everything really. And what I like about him so much is that he always sees the best in me. He'll always say, how are they treating you at work? I think you can do so much better. He's always encouraged. I mean, not at this job now, but I was working somewhere previously and he said, honestly, you can, sky's the limit for you. I can see great things. Blah, blah. He was very uplifting, very encouraging, said really nice things. Just always saw the best in me. And so it's quite a professional relationship because he works in schools. Like I say, he's a teacher.
Yeah.
And he does other things outside of that as well. But yeah, it's also.
Do you ever socialize beyond what you've mentioned now?
With him?
Yeah, like you were with your daughter and him, but were there ever any moments where it was just you two and you were in a social situation or anything that could develop an intimacy beyond friendship?
Definitely not.
Okay.
Definitely not.
It's
No.
unusual.
It is unusual.
Yeah, it is unusual because, it is. Like, he's
It
my
is.
only male friend.
Yeah,
But
hard.
we are,
Yeah.
I don't think he looks at me like that at all. There's never, I mean, we've been friends for, I don't know, since my youngest was born. She's going to be 14.
Wow.
Yeah, like a long time. I've met his partner, his children.
Oh, that's
Oh,
unusual.
lovely.
Lovely, Karen. It's very
Yeah,
unusual.
honestly, and it's really
So
lovely.
unusual.
He'll call and say, what you're doing? I say, let's meet for coffee. And we sit and we chat. And like I say, we talk about lots of things. I guess primarily it's quite work related. Like I'll talk about the things I'm doing and he'll talk to me about his work life, projects he's working on, about our children, that sort of stuff. But we can talk about anything. But it is definitely platonic. I most definitely do not look at him like that. No, I don't.
No.
And he doesn't look at me like that. But that's why it works so well.
Yeah, it does. It's
Yeah.
unusual.
I don't have male best friends that I could open up and confide in. I just think that's a dangerous territory for me. I know I was the one who said I could love two men. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't put myself in a situation where I'm emotionally intimate with a man because for sure, as day follows night, I'm probably going to want something more. So he's not the person. So with my girlfriends where I can share my deepest, darkest, down to where gray hairs are appearing where they shouldn't.
I'm not going to talk about that with him. No.
That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't share myself intimately with a man. I know myself. So for me, that's the boundary.
I suppose it is boundaried. So like I say, it is quite work related. So we do talk a lot about projects, things that we're doing. We talk about our children. I'm not going to share things that I would share with a girlfriend. I wouldn't because A, wouldn't get it. And B, I think it would be inappropriate.
But that's what I was asking. Do any of you have a male best friend or men in your circle you respond to as a woman?
I did. I had a male best friend who I was friends with at the same time I met Martha. So from the age of like 21 up to about 29. We lived together the whole time. I was like a ride or die friend of mine.
Oh, wonderful.
Right. He was amazing. We talked about everything. He was one of my best. He was probably my best male friend. We don't talk anymore, sadly. But what I found kind of ruined a lot of it was when, I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago, I remember I said to him, thank you so much when we were living together. Thank you for never making moves or never being weird. It was just so nice to talk to you. He said, I would have made a movie in your heartbeat if you made me move on me back. Binned. Our friendship was never the same. I thought for 9 years, like, nah.
Really? You couldn't see past that?
No, but I didn't feel anything for him like that. Nothing.
Okay.
I thought, I found a male friend and everything. So that, and then after that, he had some kind of life crisis. But yeah, that when he said that, I felt, it's kind of just poured water on our friendship.
Right.
There was that. So that was I think that's the closest male friend. We lived together. We lived together all that time, right? In different houses. We went across London, different shared houses, but we were always together.
Yeah.
So we were just close. And that's that. I've had some other male friends that I'm kind of friendly with, but it's always gone a bit sideways before, because I found that when I would become single, then people will come straight up into my kind of, don't want a friendship anymore.
Exactly.
They want something else. So my only male friend right now is Ollie. Shout out to Ollie. Ollie is gay and
Ollie's
I love him.
amazing.
Ollie's great. Ollie's fiance is bloody amazing too.
Yes.
So I love Ollie, because I can talk to Ollie about everything and I can just talk to him about my heart and he doesn't ever be weird and because he's gay.
Interestingly, though, you just said he's gay. So
Yeah.
there was never going to be that.
No, I just could
Crossover.
talk to him like I talk to you girls. I could talk to him about there down there. We didn't care. So that's why we sat out there and he smoked and ate pizza and just easy.
So if he was heterosexual, that's what Karen's hinting at. Would it be the same?
No. It would not be the same.
But the thing is,
No, it wouldn't be.
There's a couple of things in this. All right, so if I was really, really good friends with a male, we got on so well, why wouldn't I fancy him, I guess? Do you know what I mean? Like, if we got on that well and he was so lovely and so supportive, why wouldn't I? That's the question. You would. You probably would, unless he had his partner and I had mine. And then really would we be, I don't know, would we be that close? But equally, there are friends, female friends, that I wouldn't share everything with either.
Oh, 100%.
So in the same way that I don't share everything with this male friend,
Yeah.
there are female friends I wouldn't share everything with either.
I just feel
Do you know
I
what
can
I mean?
share. I can share with Ollie like I could just share with you girls. I could just share.
Yeah.
We've sat outside there talking about all sorts of stuff. And I just feel comfortable, because there isn't ever no.
Yeah.
He's not going to look at you.
No.
I wonder if there are any listeners out there who has a best friend who is of the opposite sex. We would love to hear from you. Has there been any sexual tension that you've worked through and come out the other side? What has it been like?
Or have you managed to marry someone who was your best friend?
Yeah, interesting one.
Or have intimacy and then decide, nah, we're better as friends?
And can it go back to friendship once you've crossed that line?
Oh, actually, talking about that man, that boy, that whatever, we were in our 20s, that I was talking about, that said, I would have done it. He actually had a really close friend that was a girl. Remember that? And we were in London. And, he slept with her. He slept with his best friend.
Okay.
And she didn't want to know him off that. She's like, I can't believe that happened.
Oh, wow.
So I'm not sure it could be. I think either a person would have to go ahead and have a relationship with the person, or I think it changes the dynamic, doesn't it?
I wondered
when
if
you've
it
been
would change
intimate,
the dynamic,
it can't help but change the dynamic.
Absolutely.
So it'd be interested to hear from our listeners if you guys have done that and how it's kind of come out the other side. So, Kay and Karen, any more final thoughts? We have about 5 minutes left.
I do, but I'm getting it ready. So, Karen, do you want to go first?
My final thought was just during COVID, I think I realized who my friends were. That was a really difficult time where you were cut off from everything. And I think I formed some really, really strong friendships during that time. I feel very blessed to have the people in my life that I do. I just feel very grateful for the friends I currently do have.
Definitely. I feel really grateful too. Really grateful for the friends I have. And I'm also, even though as you get older, it does get harder, I think, to make friends.
I think so.
But I think it's important to kind of still be open to kind of friendships. And there are things along the way, aren't there? And there are people you meet that could possibly be friends.
Absolutely.
It's got to be open to that as well,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
I just wanted to share a little bit of the book that I'm reading, The Spirit of Intimacy. Ancient African teachings in the way of relationships. And to end where we started, this chapter really caught me by surprise. The author, she says, romantic love is an attraction that cuts off spirit and community, leaving two people to invent a relationship by themselves. Romance ignores all the stages of a spiritual coming together. It fosters anonymity and forces people to masquerade. So basically, they're saying if you're just going to go with romance and you're going to romanticize relationships, she's right. She says more often than not, many things are covered up, and it will take years to find the true identity of your partner. That is, if you're given a chance. I know that some people live their whole life with a stranger.
That's interesting.
Yes. So that's the perspective any future relationship I have is going to come from. It's going to be purposeful. Why are we coming together? What do we hope to achieve by this? It will be spirit-led for sure. It's got to be bigger than us. I've done the other relationships before. So just wanted to throw that out there for consideration. That is all romance on its own does not a relationship make. Check your attachment style, check your survival strategies, check your need for nurture.
I'm such a romantic, though. It's made me quite sad. Can it not just survive on romance alone?
No.
I think that's the thing. That's why I think with so many relationships, it kind of dies a death, doesn't it? 'Cause it starts off really kind of positive. You know, the whole honeymoon stage. I was just thinking the other day, I was just thinking to myself, you know, in my relationship, it takes work.
Yes,
It takes work, and it also takes both people have to be dedicated to it, you know, and there's not all days are amazing, you know? So, yeah.
Okay, so we're coming to the end of the show. Once again, it has been such a pleasure hosting tonight. We have been Sarah, Kay, and Karen, Beautifully Melanated podcast. We have loved spending the time with you. To contact us, we are at Beautiful Melanated Podcast on Instagram. You can email us, beautifullymelanatedpodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts and your ideas from this episode. For now, take care. Goodbye. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Beautifully.